Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to picture in full living color a fantastic, off the chart, amazing employee. Somebody everybody loves to work with, they're great. You would hire them in a heartbeat for your company. Who would give me some characteristics of that person? Trustworthy, integrity, outgoing, collaborative, dynamic. Okay, what is it? Personable. Okay, I love it. I love it. Those are fantastic. Now,
I want you to picture kind of black and white, right? Not living color. A not so great employee. The one that you would hire and fire at the first chance that you got.
give me some of their characteristics. What are they like? Late, undependable, unethical, lazy, complaining. Yes, Jack. It'll come to you in a minute. Okay, what kind of people are y'all working with? So I have to tell you that in my experience, I ran my own business for 20 years. In the past 12 years, I've been in and out of all sorts of size companies, mom and pops to Fortune 100. Okay, all different kinds of industries: oil and gas, technology, manufacturing, financial, etc. And in my experience, I found that there's a pretty consistent theme, that there's two kinds of employees out there. There is who I call Stacy. Stacy is a rock star employee. She shows up, she's ready to go, she's coming up with new ideas, she's constantly doing things that help make the business better, she's generating, income. Stacy is just a rock star. You gotta have a Stacy in your company, or a bunch of them. And then the other one is who I called in my book, The Company of Owners, Crawley. Crawley is what I call a zombie employee. You know any zombie employees out there, right? So when a zombie, Crawley just kind of comes in, wants to mail it in, just get a paycheck. When a zombie bumps up against a chain link fence, do they go looking for wire cutters to figure out how to get through the fence, yes or no? Do they try to figure out a way to get around the fence, yes or no? What do? They just keep bumping the fence until hopefully they get enough other zombies and they can bring it toppling down and continue on their zombie journey. Okay, so here's the kicker. Gallup has shown this it's probably Google now. Gallup has shown this year after year after year that there's you take an average company, there's a certain percentage of highly engaged employees, Stacy's, and then the rest kind of fall into the zombie category. What percentage do you think in a typical company of highly engaged employees does Gallup reveal on a year-to-year basis? 15, 10, did someone say 2? That might be an all 5, that might be an all-time low. It's actually 29%. So it's not as bad as you thought it was. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's abysmal. That is like having a 3-legged stool with only one leg working. That's like a 6-cylinder car with only 2 cylinders, like a 6-string guitar with, okay, y'all get the point. Take anything divided by, 2/3, and that's what you get. And what that means is that we've got a lot of people out there in the workforce that are just not paying attention. And that means a lot to this group. So normally when I speak, I talk a lot about building a company of owners. How do you create a culture? I'm a culture architect. It's the title that people call me by. But today, I want to talk about actual specific behaviors that are important for individuals to exhibit if you're really going to have a company of owners. I want to talk about what it means to act like an owner. And what I would say as a bonus for that is, if you will take some of what I'm going to talk about today and put it into place, implement it, it will help make you indispensable to any organization, any relationship. Because I guarantee you, some of the very simple things I'm going to share with you, you're going to say, oh, I've heard that before, that sounds very familiar. But when implemented, they're absolute deal changers. Does that sound good for y'all today? Yeah. Okay, so a bunch of guys sitting around construction site, and they're having their lunch. They just started working together, these guys and gals. And so sitting there, one of the dudes reaches over and reaches into his bag and pulls out a sandwich, takes a look at it, and goes, peanut butter and jelly. Oh, ugh, right? Next day, same group of people sitting out there, and he reaches into his bag, pulls out a sandwich, peanut butter butter and jelly 2 days in a row. I hate this, it's terrible. By the third day, he's sitting there, he reaches into his bag, pulls out a sandwich, guess what? Peanut butter and jelly! And now he's just really pouring it on. Finally, somebody sitting next to him has had it. Says, listen, I don't know what the problem, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm getting sick and tired of hearing you complain every day. Why don't you go home and tell whoever is making your sandwich to make something other than peanut butter and jelly? He looks at the guy and goes, what are you talking about? I live by myself. I make my own lunch. Some of y'all are not laughing, come on! Is that a groaner? The point of that story is that, it's easy to laugh at something like that. Like, hey, how do you complain about something that you're doing every day? Raise your hand if you're responsible for that in some form or fashion. How many of you have something in your life that is repetitive, that if you were to address or take care of that thing, that it would make a dramatic difference, okay? How many of you have something in your life that you said, I'm gonna, shoulda, woulda, one day I'm gonna finally get to that, it's on my bucket list, that if you were to actually do that thing, it would be a deal changer? How many of you have something like that? How many of you have something at work that if that situation were to change, then all of a sudden it would just be a change for everybody involved, right? So we all have those peanut butter and jelly elements in our life. So if you want a different sandwich, you have to have different what? Ingredients. Because whatever you're mixing together in the way that you're showing up, whatever you're putting together is continuing to give you the same result. So I'm going to try to give you some different ingredients today. Some of you are going to walk out of here with 7 things you can use immediately that are going to be actionable. You're going to start putting them into place. They're going to be a deal changer. Some of you might just pick one. You may say, I'm just going to do one of these. On occasion, there are people that go, I'm not doing any of that. I'm not going to pick any of those. That's not going to happen today. I want us to agree that when you hear some things today, you're going to kind of mentally trigger that I'm going to be responsible for doing that. If you are willing to be responsible for doing some of the things we're going to talk about today, in advance, say aye. Aye. Okay, awesome. So if somebody didn't speak next to you, reach over and punch them. All right, so let's start here. Owners show up. So here's what I need you to do. I need everybody to stand up. Everybody stand up. And on the count of 3, I need you to assume one of 2 positions, all right? You ready? There's this one. I am Superman. I am Wonder Woman. You can, in your mind, pick whichever one you want. We're not going to be judgy, okay? We don't know which one you're going for there. That's actually this one. I am Superman. I want to. Or this one. I just won the lottery. Oh, this is fantastic. I just got that big promotion. So one of these 2, this one or this one. Both hands on the hip. Are you ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go. Big. Make it big. Now fluffy. Hold it. Make it big. Make it big. Okay, high five somebody and have a seat. So that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. I just want to see if I can get you going. It's just such a great photo op, right? It has something to do with everything. I don't know if you saw Amy Cuddy's research out of Harvard University that was done a number of years ago. And what they discovered was the way you hold your body, this is considered, we just did open positions. When you hold your body in an open position for only 2 minutes, some crazy stuff goes on with your chemistry. Testosterone, which is the confidence drug, that's the, I'm on it, I got it, I can do this. Testosterone goes up. Only 2 minutes of just holding that pose, right? A cortisol, which is also a stimulant, but it's the not so good, right? It's not the confidence drug. It's the one, well, let me put it this way. Have you ever, raise your hand if you've ever woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning and could not go back to sleep because you were worrying about something, okay? Come on, that's everybody in the room, right? That's cortisol. Cortisol is the one that you curl up in a fetal position, you're like, I can't do it. It's never going to work. I'm not going to get the job. I'm not going to get the deal, et cetera, et cetera. So testosterone goes up, cortisol goes down. The exact opposite happens when you adopt what we call a closed position. So when you are sitting there, you're getting ready to go into that big meeting or that big interview, and you're down like this on your phone, okay? You're setting yourself up for failure because the opposite occurs. Cortisol, the anxiety drug, goes up, and testosterone goes down. Now, why does that matter? They did a fascinating deal with people. They had them do one of those positions, either open or closed, for 2 minutes, go into a mock interview, interviewed them on camera for 5 minutes, and then had some other people review the video and say, who would you hire? Consistently, they said, unbeknownst to them, the people who had adopted the open position. Why? Because they showed up. They showed up differently. So I taught this to my daughter. She was taking the SAT a few years ago. And she graduated Wiley High, by the way, top of her class, numero uno. So she was taking the SAT, and I talked to her afterwards, and I said, baby, did you do it? She's like, yes, Dad, I was in the other room doing this. Absolute full ride to the University of Texas Business Honors Program later, right? So I'm telling you, this stuff works. So how are you showing up? People show up to work, they show up to relationships, they show up in one of two ways. They either show up as Superman or Wonder Woman, and I'm here to save the day. That's actually Mighty Mouse, I think. Anybody remember Mighty Mouse? Yeah, I got a few Mighty Mouse. Right? Or they show up like Eeyore. What's Eeyore like? Everything's bad. Everything's draggy. Raise your hand if you have an Eeyore in your life. Okay, raise your hand if you are the Eeyore in your life. Okay. How you use something as simple as your physiology makes a big difference in how you show up, and it has an impact on the people around you, and it has a ripple effect across a family, across relationships, and certainly a ripple effect across work. I remember I was out doing some culture work at a refinery, and I got out there and started doing some interviewing, and they told me this about one of the senior leaders. They said, Daren, there isn't a person out here that would do a damn thing for that guy. Now, is that what you want to hear if you're a leader? Turns out his boss had what I call management by screaming and yelling obscenities at people, okay? I'm talking go put a boot on their neck. You go tell them I'm going to put my boot so far up there, okay? I mean, it was just a ridiculous culture. It was amazing when they finally started to make some changes with either the way people were showing up or actually who was showing up, okay? How much it changed that culture. How are you showing up? How are you showing up to life? How are you showing up to relationships? You gotta know your identity. You gotta know who you are, you gotta know who you're about. I just read a couple of days ago, only 1 out of 4 people actually have some kind of a life plan, some kind of a life philosophy. The rest of us are just sort of going through the motions. Do you know what you're about? Do you know what your BAM is? A BAM is a business actionable mantra. Okay, so lots of companies have mission statements. Raise your hand if you can stand up right now and recite word for word your company's mission statement. Okay, we've got about 4 people here. Most mission statements are a bunch of gobbledygook, right? We exist for the furtherance of our contingency so that we are able to provide quality services over the course of our blah, 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 right? I always love the ones that say, we obey the law. Is that how low you're setting the bar as a company? Oh, good. I'm happy to hear as a company, we obey the law. Is there a company I go to work for that doesn't obey the law? Because that sounds like a lot of fun. Let's do that. That's different from what I call a business actionable mantra, which is something that actually drives behavior, that actually influences outcomes and how you do things. So there's all sorts of short and sweet ones. I love this one for the Navy SEALs in terms particularly of their training, embrace the suck. Okay? Now, you don't think that comes to mind when they're up to their eyeballs in mud and they're crawling through crap and they've been running miles and miles and miles. All of a sudden, yeah, it keeps them going. what's your business actionable mantra, and maybe more importantly, what's your personal mantra? What are the things that get you out of bed in the morning and that drive your performance? Do you know what those are? Okay, so you've got to manage your physiology. You've got to manage and master your mind. So I want you to do something for me real quickly. Look around the room and see all of the red that you can see in the room. It's going to be easy for the tables over there. But look around the room. Find all the red you see in the room. Get a little mental note of all the red you see in the room. Okay, now here's what I want you to do. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. I can tell if your eyes are closed or not. Everybody got your eyes closed. Okay, now I want you to describe all of the yellow that you saw in the room. Okay. All right, you can open your eyes. Not so much. Why? What were you looking for? What did you see? There's a little thing called the reticular activation system. How many bits of data can our brains process, or amount of stimulation can they receive in a given second? I'm talking about color, feel, the way your butt feels on that chair right now. I mean, all of the temperature. How many bits of data are our brains capable of processing and receiving in any given second? Big, that's a big number. See your arms going out there, bigger and bigger. It's actually 400 billion bits of data a second. The human mind is an incredible thing. But here's the reality. We probably narrow that down to about 2,000 a second. Now, do you think it matters what you choose to pay attention to when you walk out of the house in the morning, when you walk into a company? Do you think it matters what you have predetermined yourself to see, right? We have a big problem with the message you guys are trying to share because people aren't, part of their conditioning is not, hey, part of that 2,000 is I need to be watching out for danger. I need to be watching out for breaches and all of that. And so consequently, they just sort of muddle through that stuff. What you see is what you get. How many of you have ever made a decision? I'm gonna get a Ford F-150, and then you start driving down the road. What do you see everywhere? Priuses. Well, it is 2018, by the way. So, yeah, you see what you are looking for. So if you decide people are mean and ugly and they're out to get you over, get you, they're going to screw you over at every turn, what kind of people do you encounter on a regular basis? People who are mean and out to screw you over at every turn. If you see no opportunities in this job, there's just no opportunities for me, what do you see? No opportunities. An opportunity can walk up and punch you right in the face, but because you were looking for red, you don't see yellow, or you don't see green, or you don't see that other thing. How are you conditioning yourself to see things? Do you know by the time you're 35, we've got some folks that, like me, are well over 35, and then we've got some young bucks in here that are going like, 35, y'all are old. Okay. By the time you're 35, 95% of your day-to-day operations, your behavior, your emotions, your responses, the way you interact with people is already preloaded. It's old software. It's just running in the background, and we wonder why we do the same things over and over again. Very little variation. So, I've got some good news for you. Guess what? You can't change that. We're also discovering, and have been discovered for a long time, the fluidity of the brain. You don't have to continue habits, but if you're going to jerk yourself out of a rut, a certain way of seeing the world, a certain way of dealing with people, you're going to have to do that on purpose. How do I know that? Because I had to do it myself. About 6 years ago, I turned 50, and it was one of those just, classic moments. I was actually excited about it. I thought, whoa, okay, it's kind of cool. 50! I made it! And I turned 50, and I remember going through a metamorphosis. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we're talking, and he was revealing some things that were very eye-opening to me. And I remember getting up the next morning and saying, I'm done. I'm tired of living small. I'm tired of talking about what I'm going to do and not actually doing it. I had all of this big list. I'm going to write a book one day. I'm writing a book. I got a book. My book's on the computer. It's good about. And I realized, hey, my books aren't doing me a bit of good sitting on a computer. So I actually started writing them, putting them out. I started assessing everything in my life. Attitudes, opinions, the way I got up, the way I faced the world, and decided I'm going to make a fundamental change here. And when I did that, it was a deal changer, and you can do that too.
I was reading a great leadership book, Mark Sanborn, I think it was in one of his. He's talking about a bungee jumping experience. So Mark goes, he goes to this place and he has an opportunity to bungee jump. And he thinks, this is really cool, I want to do this. Oh, how much fun would this be? Until he starts climbing the stairs and the ladder on the bridge to get to the top. And he said the further he got up there, the scarier he looked. He said what had been like a big lake at the bottom waiting to receive him was now like a little puddle, a little glass of water, you know, that he aimed for. He said the town that was way out there was looming large. It was just, everything was off. So he goes over there, they tie his ankles up, he got the big, he'd asked, you know, has anybody ever died or been in? No, in 5 years of service, we've never had an injury or a death. He's like, okay. So they tie his feet up and he knows his strategy, if he's gonna do it, has to be this. They said, we're going to count down from 10, and when we get to 1, you go. And you jump like you're jumping for way outer space, right? Just go as far as you can go. And he said in his brain, if I don't do it then, I'm not going to do it. So sure enough, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and boom! Sanborn launched himself over the abyss, bounced again, and then sort of settled. The raft comes up, they pull him in, they untie his legs, and he's going, wow, that was fantastic. It was a lot less scary doing it than thinking about doing it. And then he sat down there in the raft and he watched. Lady came up, it's her turn. They wrap her ankles, got all the bungee cord, they're up there. In his brain, he's going, okay, I know kind of the moment because he came here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still standing there. 10 more seconds go by. 10 minutes passed, okay? Felt like an eternity. And the woman is still standing up there, hesitant to go. And finally, to Sanborn's surprise, all of a sudden, here she comes. She said she really didn't fly off the bridge, she more just sort of fell right off the bridge. And then she doing the bounce, and then they get her down the entire legs and they get her in the raft. And he says, hey, what was going on up there? I don't understand. You know, you didn't jump. It was like 10 minutes, a long time. What made you finally decide to jump? And she said, they asked me 2 questions. The first question was, how's it going to feel if you actually do it? And the second question was, how are you going to feel if you don't? Have you ever had one of those experiences, big regret in life? In my experience, raise your hand if you've ever done something you regret. Okay, let's have a little share time. Everybody at your table right now. That's a joke. The people laughing the loudest have the biggest fear because they've got a really big regret, right? How many of you have ever not done something and regretted it? Okay. I don't know about you, but for me, those are the most painful experiences. It's when I didn't jump. So I've never bungee jumped. Anybody ever bungee jumped in here? Okay. I've never bungee jumped, but I have walked on fire. Okay. Anybody, you walked on fire. Okay. So yes, it was one of those things, and you get out there and you're all prepped, you're getting ready to do this thing, and then you get out there and you realize the person who was sitting next to me said, oh wait, I'm confused. Wait, we're gonna take our shoes off? Yes, what is the point of walking on fire if you leave your shoes on? So we get out there and it's all, you know, fake and smoke and mirror. No, I'm telling you, I'm watching the coals being dumped onto this big little patch of grass and seeing the whole thing, and what they said was gonna be like 6 to 8 feet, looks like it's a mile, right? And I'm standing there and you finally get up there and it's your turn and you're supposed to be in state and you make your move, yes, yes, and then they go, and you gotta go. I had that split second, I had that moment where I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Okay. Thankfully, I didn't do that because I walked across there, and I have to tell you, it was a pretty harrowing experience. I got to the other side, the elation that there was. And I'm not necessarily recommending walking on fire. Okay, so you go, that's dangerous. What are you thinking? Why are you walking on fire? What's your walking on fire? What's your bungee jump? What is that thing that you're waiting or hesitant or, you know, standing at the top of the bridge on waiting to take that plunge. You want to go back to school, you want to go get a degree, you want to ask for that promotion. The difference in that moment and in those moments are whether you ask yourself those two questions. What am I going to feel like if I do that? And what am I going to feel like if I don't do that? You got to show up. You got to manage your state. You got to manage your emotions. Okay, so you have to know other people's stories if you're going to be effective as an owner. I need a couple volunteers for this. Hash, just got voluntold. Come on up, Hash. And now let's pick. Hold on. Let's pick you. Come on up here. Come on up. Let's hear it for our volunteers. Okay. Kristen and Hash. Very cool. Kind of a cool name, right? Hash. Hashtag. It would not be cool. Okay. Hash breath. I'm sure you've got them all. So, okay. Hash. I want you to stand right here, actually. And let's put you right here. Face that screen. And Kristen, you're going to come over here. And you're going to face Hash, okay? Just look that direction. Now, here's what I need you to do. I want you to describe in detail. I'm not tricking you. I'm not going to embarrass you. There's none of that, okay? But I want you to describe in detail. Take it literally. It's not a trick. What you see behind Kristen. Describe what you see.
A white screen. I don't know if it's lying horizontally in it. Yeah, just a blank screen.
Okay. That's pretty much it for Hash, right? Okay, now Kristen, you're going to do the same thing. I want you to look past Hash. I want you to describe everything that you see.
A lot of attendees, a lot of people excited to be here.
You look excited.
Entrances and exits, people walking in the hallway.
Okay. I don't know if y'all hear this. Do we have a problem? We have a problem. Who's right? Do their descriptions match? Not at all. They're not even close. I didn't hear one thing that matched the other person. So who's right? Which one's right? Matt or Kristen? Raise your hand if you think Matt's right. Or, I'm sorry, Hash is right. Hash is right. Raise your hand if you think Kristen's right. Okay, who's right? They can't both be right. This is America. How can two people be right? Okay, so it's a silly question. So actually, Hash, I'm going to have you turn around. Okay, so nice job, guys. So what is going on up here? I guarantee you, you're facing hundreds of times a day. Why were they describing different things? Different perspectives. Almost all, maybe all of the arguments that you have with another person, misunderstandings, whatever they may be, go something like this. There's a white screen. There is not a white screen. How can you not see the white screen? You're crazy. Yes, of course there's no white screen. I see a bunch of people, and back and forth and back and forth. Stephen Covey said, seek first to understand and then to be understood. There's a proverb that says, he who speaks before listening, that is his folly and his shame. So if Kristen's going to understand what Hash is seeing, what's she going to have to do? Come around, right? And if he's going to understand what she's seeing, what's he going to have to do? Come around. So that when they go, oh, I see, I get it. Change in perspective changes everything. Okay, big round of applause for these guys. Do you know the people you're working with? Do you know their stories? Do you know what it's like to deal with you? Do you know what it's like for other departments to deal with you? Do you know what it's like to be in the C-suite? Do you know what it's like to be closest to the valve? If you really, really want to be effective, you have to understand people's stories. It's a great story that was told about some Italian folks that were going over to Africa to a very particular village because they had discovered that in this village there was a lot of malnourishment. And they were wanting to change the world. They were out. So they go, we're going to go change that. And they got over there and they figured out the reason there was so much malnourishment was because they didn't eat a lot of vegetables. So they said, hey, we're going to teach you. We've come all prepared. We're going to teach you how to be farmers. Who wants to learn how to be a farmer? Nobody raised their hand, okay? Nobody in this little village raised their hand. They said, okay, who wants to be paid to learn how to be a farmer? And then a bunch of people are like, okay, yeah, you want to pay me to teach me how to be a farmer, I'll do that. So I get out there and they start growing these crops and it's amazing. I mean, it's a lush, there's a beautiful river and lake nearby, and it's just, I mean, they couldn't believe it. The stuff that's coming up and starting to come up out of the ground. If in their home country was this big, in this particular place, it's twice that size, and they knew it. They said, we've done it. We've saved this village. We've saved Africa. Look at us. They come out the next morning, and they're getting ready to start harvesting some of the goods. Nothing's there, okay? It's been completely trampled. All the veggies, all the stuff is gone, and they're in a panic. They're like, what? All our hard work, what in the world happened? The people in the village said, oh, yeah, the hippos, they came up out of the river, they ate all the veggies, and they went back into the river. That's why we don't farm. And the Italians said, why didn't you tell us? And what did they say? Because you didn't ask, right? How well do you know other people's stories? How well do you know your kid's story? How well do you know your spouse, your significant other, your partner's story? How well do you know, as I said, the people you work with? You gotta know other people's stories. And when you find you're in conflict, one of the best things you can do instead of trying to keep jamming home your position is to simply stop and say, hey, I'm clearly not seeing whatever it is you're seeing. Can you help me understand that? Can you help me see that? Deal changer. Okay. Owners leave things better than they found them. So my buddy Walter Nussbaum is a speaker as well, tells a story. He's in an airport. He goes, as we're in airports a lot, he goes to the bathroom, and as he's walking in the door, there's a guy in a really nice suit. I mean, he's just decked out. And he's sitting over there, and he's got some paper towels, and he is wiping down the sink area. And Walter makes a crack like, you know, hey, you been working here long or something like that. And the guy just kind of smiles and chuckles a little bit. He looks Walter in the eye and he says, you know what they say, why not leave it a little better than you found it? Well, Walter thinks, wow, what an amazing philosophy. So sure enough, he comes to the sink. Guess what Walter does? He starts wiping down the sink. Not just that time, but every time. He tells me this story. I'm on the phone at a client. I go in, go about. Guess what I do? I start wiping down the sink. It's an epidemic of let's leave things better than you found it. I actually called Walter one day and I said, hey, Walter, we wrote a book. He said, we did. And I said, yeah, you remember that story you told me? I wrote it down and we're going to be co-authors. I'm going to put your name first. Don't y'all think that was very generous of me? Then I wrote down Walter's story and I at least put his name first. A little book called The Sink. It takes about 6 minutes to read. It's about leaving things better than you found it. And it's not just environments. It's about leaving people better than you found them. It's about leaving everything that you encounter. I'm telling you, it has been so transformational to me. I don't walk out of a hotel room very much anymore. Occasionally I'm in a big hurry, but I don't walk out of a hotel room with stuff just everywhere. Going, oh yeah, well the cleaners are coming, they're gonna take care of it. I try to tidy up a little bit. I try to make somebody else's life a little bit easier. They did an experiment in a company where they have a big hallway. They took a piece of paper, they wadded it up, they threw it in the middle of the hallway, and then they watched. Right. Person after person going by, until finally somebody stopped. And they went, they picked up that piece of paper, and they pulled them aside, interviewed them, and said, hey, why did you do that? Why did you pick up the piece of paper? And they said, invariably something like this is my house, this is my company, we gotta take care of this place. Are you leaving things better than you found them? I don't know if you know this, but everybody likes everybody else. Every person on the planet likes every other person on the planet. Some people they like when they walk in the room, and some people they like when they walk out of the room. So, which are you? Do people like being around you? Are you leaving things better than you found them? Or are you leaving a, record devastation behind you? I know from just hanging out with some of you guys, you're doing the first, but how many more ways can you do that? How much more can you leave things better than you found them? Okay, so I mentioned books. We brought some with us today. Little commercial. So this one's Whiteboard. It's a hand-drawn, handwritten book. its business models. They're saying the first of its kind. The great Leonard Cohen. You know Leonard Cohen? Hallelujah, hallelujah. Loved it so much he sent me an autographed copy of his poetry book. So that's like a dear treasure to me. This one I just mentioned, The Saint. It's about leaving the world better than you found it. You guys are gonna dig this one. It's called Beached Whale, Learning to Swim in the New Ocean. And it's about companies who are sitting on a sand dune because they missed the memo that the world as we know it is over. They're still operating with 20, 30 years ago practices, right? And the whole book is about how do you unbeach. By the way, the first indicator you're a beached whale company is if you walk around and there's a Dilbert cartoon on every cubicle, okay? As I say, they're trying to tell you something, and y'all really dig this. One of the indicators you're a beached whale company is if you skimp on technology, right? I know we have that problem. And then last but not least, this one is called A Company of Owners. It's just been it's been a beast. It's did the closing address for the presidential scholars, VeriSign for all of the executive team. There are all sorts of folks, and it's just a simple idea, but articulated in a pretty easy to read kind of fashion about how do you create a company of owners where you have a bunch of Stacys and no zombie employees, right? So we've got actually a great deal. We brought some books. If you don't get some today, please, I'm just asking you, look, it's $11. I think I get 4, not even 4, I get like $2. It's not the money, but I would strongly encourage you, if you get at least one, get this one, and then consider doing like a bunch of other companies have done and getting it for your team, because when everybody's reading the same thing, I talked to a company a while back that gave a book. They said, we gave that book last year to our employees. I said, oh, that's cool. And I knew the book, and I loved the book, and I said, well, what percentage of the people do you think read it? Read 3, and I'm like, okay. Then he's looking, I said, they'll read this one. He goes, oh yeah, they will. So, by the way, the great Blake Coleman, CIO, anybody know Blake, St. David's Foundation, called it the best book I've read since Good to Great. So you don't get any higher praise. So we got a great deal for y'all on some package. If you don't get it, you can get them online. But I've got an even better deal for you today. Who wants a free copy of a book? Who would like a free copy of a book? Who really? All right. What did they do that nobody else in the room did? Pick me. Yes, I saw that hand in the back of the room. I'm going to come all the way down there and bring you a book, right? Doesn't work that way. Owners go to the ball. They don't wait for the ball to come to them. And if you can train something in your company, and I know you guys are doing this and gals are doing this on a regular basis, you got to teach people to go to the ball. So my buddy says, quit waiting for your ship to come in. It's not going to come in. You have to go build it. I was at a company, position came open. I'm talking to 2 people that I knew wanted that position really, really badly. Talked to the first guy. Said, hey, the position came open. He said, yeah. The second I heard, I was in the dude's office that was making the decision saying, you know that's mine. That belongs to me. I want that job. What do I have to do? Tell me right now. I want it. What do I do? I went to the other person and said, hey, you know that position that you're interested in just came open, and here's what he said to me. I said, have you gone and talked, to the person about it? He said, no, but I figure if they're interested in me, they'll come talk to me. Now let me ask you a not so trick question. Who got the job? Who got the job? It was the person who went to the ball. Where are you not going to the ball? Where are you waiting for the ball to come to you? Where are you sitting out there saying, it's going to come my way sometime, instead of actually manufacturing it and making it happen? So by the way, I'm going to embarrass him so bad. Christian, where are you? That drove from Tyler. Is he in here? Is he back there? Okay. Anyway, junior in high school. I said, are you skipping school to be here? He came all the way from Tyler. I said, are you skipping school to be here? He's like, no, they had a teacher, work day or something. He came here, I said, why are you here? He says, I want a future and a career in cybersecurity one day, and so I just want to come and meet people and learn and see what I can do. Now that is somebody who's going to the ball. In fact, stand up if you're a student in here at any level, okay? Let's hear it for you. Nice job, way to show up, way to go to the ball. Now, by the way, every single person in the room should have stood when I said who's a student in here, right? Did that stop because we graduated? Trust me, I had 4 years of college, 7 years getting my PhD. I'm a bigger student right now than I was when I was in school. If you saw our library, if you saw the people that I have as mentors that mentor me on a daily basis, many of them dead. And no, I'm not doing seances, right? But I can still pick up the material, I can still listen to their audio. You know the average American reads 50% of Americans don't read a single book a year. What are you thinking about? Are you learners? Or did you just kind of check that out the door? Because the people who rule the universe are the ones who, like Socrates, Socrates is said to be one of the wise men that ever lived. He's on record as saying, the only thing I know for sure is that I know nothing. What does that mean? He keeps exploring, keeps learning. So are you doing that? Are you getting out there? Are you reading all sorts of stuff? Are you connecting with other people? I know part of the answer to that, because look around the room, you're here. You showed up. You're sitting here. I know you're learners because there's a bunch of people who decided not to be here today because, that thing, conference, blah, I went last year. It's going to be the same old thing. You showed up. Are you being a learner? Are you showing up? Okay, so I want to stay in touch with you. When I was in Africa, I actually did some training in Africa for an organization called Alarm, which is working with different warring tribes. The man who started it actually lives up here in Plano, Richardson, and his name is Celestin Musakura, and most of his family was wiped out in the whole Hotel Rwanda thing, the genocide, and he is I believe I'll get it back, but he's a Hutu married to a Tutsi, okay, so that's warring tribes. So he goes into 7 countries. So I went over there and I did some training for some of his staff, just as kind of a give back years ago. And after the training, we had such a great time, and we just, we're all learning and having a blast. And then one of the individuals came up to me, one of the leaders, and said, "Are you coming back?" And I said, "I don't know why." And he says, "Because we have a saying in Africa, one rain only brings drought." And I thought, wow, I can't tell you how heavy that's been weighing on me. Since I started writing books and coming in and do keynotes, I go, people are like, okay, well, how do we build a culture? What do we do? So we are actually, I just entered into a partnership. You guys are the absolute first. I wanted to do it here. It just happened. I want to announce it. But we are starting a thing called Company Culture Academy. And it's not going to be just me. It's going to be me. But it's going to be a whole bunch of other people in that space. And the very first thing that we're launching as a part of that is a little thing called the Limitless Leader Series. And it's going to be online portal, jam-packed with lots of monthly new information coming out about very particular deep dives. If you're interested in being a part of that, talk to Elise, raise your hand. See Elise, you can come talk to me. There's Elise. And Tucker, hold up Tucker. Yay, Tucker, the newest addition to our family. Talk to Elise and Tucker. It's launching in January. It's going to be $49 a month to be a part of it. You're going to get way more than that in content in terms of continued learning so we can keep the conversation going. I'm going to be on once a month. We're going to have webinars. I can't be everywhere at any time, but I can be there, and anybody else who shows up, we can have some great conversations. So it's $49 a month starting in January for just y'all. If you want to sign up for that today, we're going to have you pay for 3 months, and we're going to give you the other 9 free. So basically, for $149, you're going to get the whole year, and you also get to pick a book of your choice. If it comes up and you decide you don't like it, we'll give you your money back. Okay, money back guarantee. So we'd love to get some, we're looking for beta testers, and I thought what better group than this group to do that. Okay, so we have any questions? Quick questions, we've got 60 seconds. All right, let me tell you a story real quick and then we'll finish. Anybody know the name Richard Montanez? Richard Montanez crossed the border from Mexico into California. And when he came across the border with his family years ago, they found themselves, looking for work, and they were picking grapes actually out in the field there in the little community where they settled in. They were dirt poor. They didn't know they were dirt poor, Montanez says, because he had no idea that, what the other side of the tracks looked like. So every night they would get together with their family, and they would have 6 families, and they would have dinner together. And Montanez just loved this new life in this new, fun, interesting country. He went to school. He finally dropped out of school because his English was not good enough that he couldn't make it there. So he just started working other odd jobs. And one day, he was working at a car wash. He's a little older now. And one of his friends comes to him and says, "Hey, Richard, the plant down the street is hiring. You should go look into it. There might be a job for you there. It'd be great." So he's like, okay. So he goes and applies, and sure enough, he gets a job. He's hired as one of the janitors for this plant, and he is ecstatic. I mean, we're talking 401k, salary, all this cool stuff, right? Not washing cars. So he's really happy, and he would tell you that his dream job from there was he wanted to one day, possibly dreaming really big, be able to drive the garbage truck. That would be a cush thing. One day, Montanez is out there in the plant. President comes on, says over the intercom, "Hey, I want everybody in this company to act like an owner. I want you to act like an owner." And Montanez is sitting out there, and he looks around at his coworkers, and you know what they're doing? Psh, whatever. Yeah, big, easy for the president to say. He, really. But Montanez took it differently. And he kind of bowed up a little bit. And he went, "Wait, you're talking to me? You're talking to little Richard Montanez? Broken English, came over, no degree, no high school degree. You want me to act like an owner?" So he took it as a call. And one day he's out on the plant floor, and he sees the Cheetos, Frito-Lay plant, sees the Cheetos coming off the belt. But we have any Cheetos fans in here? Come on, my guilty little pleasure. I love those things. But they're coming off without the cheese. Okay, might not be cheese, but whatever that orange dust that they spray on, right? Hope you guys from Frito-Lays here. Love those things. So they're coming off, and Montanez says, "Whoa, this is interesting." So, they're useless without that. So he goes and gets a big bag, scoops them up, takes them home, goes to the cabinet, starts pulling out ingredients and starts messing with them. He's putting some pepper on them and some cayenne and some different ingredients and some lemon and some things. Starts bringing them around to his friends. Friends are tasting them, going, "Dude, this is fantastic. Where do I get this? This is awesome." So he calls and sets up a meeting with the president. "I'm Richard Montanez. I'm the janitor here. I have a product idea." He goes and does his research. He gets his product together. He has to go buy a tie, a $3 tie from a little thrift store because he didn't own a tie. His friend, his neighbor, had to tie it for him. He goes into the meeting. Long story short, not only did they like it, they loved it. And it launched one of Frito-Lay's most successful lines, the Flaming Hot series, the Flaming Hot Cheetos. Opened up a whole new demographic for them. And little Richard Montanez, in this great country in which we live, went from a guy that was dreaming, just dreaming, and by the way, he'll tell you, and by the way, there is no shame in being a garbage truck driver or being a janitor, any job, but he had his aspirations and heights set here, and finally somebody spoke something in his life and said, "I want you to act like an owner." He became an executive vice president with the Pepsi-Cola company. Now, if that's not the American dream, I don't know what is. If that doesn't prove that when you set your mind, you get your attitude right, you decide to go to the ball. He could have had this great idea and just gone, "Oh, they'll never listen to me." When you start doing those things, it's a deal changer. Thank you.